Hey, this is Lars Frederiksen, and you're watching Heavy Consequence.
Let's start it out. We'll talk about your new solo EP, To Victory.
Yeah.
You reworked some songs from a couple of your other projects, Lars Frederiksen and the Bastards and Old Firm Casuals. And what led you to re-record these songs, those songs in particular, as a solo artist?
Well, it was a culmination of a bunch of things, honestly. For a long time, Dan Hodge, who started as my guitar tech and then became the first tour manager for Lars Frederiksen and the Bastards, and then he started working with Rancid and everything. Well, he started with Rancid first. Yeah, Rancid first. And now he manages us, right? So he's kind of worked his way up the ladder. He, about 10 years ago, he's like, dude, when you do Little Sammy or you've done, To Have and To Have Not, and sometimes I do these in Rancid sets and whatever. He's like, you should do, just out of the blue one day, he says, you should do like a Billy Bragg thing, like just you and go out with a guitar and do this. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm a band guy, Dan, and he's like, well, you should think about it. And I'd be, yeah, okay, whatever. And I kind of blew him off and blew him off and blew him off. And so you have these things on your bucket list as a musician, as something just unattainable dreams, right? Like you think, if I could just do this, if I could just do this, if I could do that. And I sort of completed all of them. I was like, okay, played Saturday Night Live, check. Played Oakland Coliseum, done that twice, check. Played Madison Square Garden, biggest punk rock show in North American history with the Misfits and the Damned, check, right? So it's like, and then I was like, well, maybe, and then I remember Dan at somewhere around that time said this to me again. And I was like, and I brushed him off, but then I started thinking, well, fuck, kind of where I was going on in my personal life. Like I was sort of at the beginning of my second divorce, and, my mom was sick again, and I was just like, you know what, if I so I had these things kind of hanging on and hanging around, and I was just like, well, if I kind of don't do something now, I probably never will, because I'm pushing 50. I'm 50 now, but it was before I was 50. And I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm probably just never going to do it, because I've got kids. They're the most important thing in my life, and I'm trying to have more kids with my partner now, and so like family was becoming more of a thing, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'll just do it and just see what happens. So the guy I was living with, because I wasn't living in my house at the time, because we were splitting up or whatever. He's one of my best friends. He's the godfather to both of my sons. His name's Chris, and he plays in this band called Powerhouse, and he also promotes shows. And I was like, yo, I got this idea. I was like, what if I did this Billy Bragg thing, and maybe played some old songs, maybe I'd get some Bastard songs that I haven't played for, 20 years or whatever it was. And he's like, yeah. And he said, well, what kind of size place do you want to do? And I said, let's do, I think maybe like 100 people. Like, I think that's all that would probably be interested. It would just be kind of a silly thing. I'll just have some fun. And he's like, well, I'll book the show. And I said, cool. So he booked the show at this place called Eli's Mile High. It's over in Oakland. And within 6 hours, we had sold out a 450 capacity spot. And I was like, oh shit, now I got to do this. You know what I mean? So I just kind of started to hone in on like some of the songs that, some of the Bastard songs, some of the Casual songs, do a few covers. I did a Ramones song, obviously the Kiss song, and a UK sub song. And, I thought, well, what would translate the best in this kind of capacity? So I just kind of picked those songs to do the show. Meanwhile, right before St. Patrick's Day, we were Old From Casuals and myself. I had a solo show, and Casuals had some shows with the Dropkick Murphys for their St. Patrick's. And of course, we all know what happened, because as I'm in the air flying to Boston, I remember I thought to myself, I better buy the internet on the plane ride this time, because I never buy, it's too expensive. I don't know. I just don't think $20, $30 for internet for a 5-hour flight is fucking, that's like my monthly internet bill. Like, fuck, what, But so I did it anyways, and like literally every hour on the hour, another show got canceled. And fortunately, my partner is from Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and we were planning to stay at her parents' place anyways. So we had a nice little, well, it wasn't a nice, but at least we had a place to stay and somewhere to go. And we were just like, well, fuck, what are we going to do? Because everything was kind of sort of, you know, already sort of paid for. And we didn't really know what was going to fucking happen. And as things were closing down, you know, trying to get to the supermarket and whatever. And thank God our parents were pretty stocked up, even though they were in Florida at the time. But like we hunkered down for about a week on the Cape, which was kind of nice, you know, in a sense. But I kind of started having these ideas of like, well, I've got all these songs and I've been meaning to record them. And they weren't necessarily songs that I'd already previously done. There were all these new songs that, because I play in like 5-6 bands, right? So I'm pretty prolific when it comes to the songwriting. So, and I didn't know where these songs would go. So I called up Michael Rosen a few months after everything started kind of, you know, and I said, hey, I got all these new songs. I got like 30 of them. I would like to just demo them because I keep writing more and more and I don't want to forget or repeat myself or whatever. And he said, well, I can set something up for us. We just, you know, stay distanced, you know, whatever, you know, because nobody knew. There was no real information. All it was at that time was like masks, wash your ass in your hands. Right. So we sat in the studio and I got the more fully realized songs sort of down with vocals, lyrics, and just me and guitar and like a click track or whatever. And just to have them. And then I was like, well, wait a second. What if I did something that was kind of more congruent to the shows I was going to, you know, because I had all these tours planned. And at that time, I think I went and recorded this stuff. We had pushed the Rancid Dropkick. I think it was the summertime. We thought everything was going to open up again or whatever. So, and I had a solo tour planned after that. I was going to go to England and do all these things and do a whole US run. And I thought, well, maybe it'd be nice to have something, you know, that would be kind of that what I was doing up on the stage is what you could take home and listen, right? So I started re-recording like all the songs I kind of did in the set, minus a few, and then I tried a few others that I thought might work. And so like what became the EP was like the 6 best ones, because then I started thinking, well, fuck, you know, I love putting out music and putting out a whole record of this stuff. I don't necessarily know if I just wanted to kind of get something out. So then I started thinking, well, maybe I'll do a series of 4 EPs. And then the next, like, so this is the first of the 4. So the next 3 will probably have all original stuff, maybe a cover or 2. Maybe I'll take a song and do it, you know, I don't know, but it's probably going to be mostly the original stuff. So for the long answer of a very short question, there you go.
Yeah. And we had the pleasure at Consequence of premiering Gods and Guns. And you mentioned—
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for allowing us to do so. But you mentioned how you kind of, you know, that was kind of inspired by your sons, that one. Can you, and you just mentioned your kids earlier. Can you talk about that? Just expand on that a little bit?
Well, you know, that song was written for the Old Firm Casuals originally. It originally appeared on Butcher's Banquet, which is another EP, 7-song EP. And when I originally wrote it, I was in England and I was doing like a little tattoo thing at my friend Nick's, his then shop called Skunk's Tattoo. And so I was staying with him in Watford, and while I was doing the tattooing, and Nick he's like one of my better friends in the world. He's got a crazy story. He was like in the French Foreign Legion and just like all this crazy shit. He's one of the raddest guys in the world. And he loves Gretsch guitars, and he knows that I have an affinity for him too. So when I walked into my bedroom, you know, when I got there, he had his White Falcon. The case was open, kind of like inviting me to, you know, being just very hospitable. Well, one night we were going out to eat some food with his wife, Santa. And I just picked up the guitar and I was the lyrics kind of started coming to me. And I started kind of thinking about my children and stuff, and like, you know, because the conversation was, you know, how we lie to our kids from the day that they're born. Kind of like we tell them there's Santa Claus, we tell them there's the Easter Bunny, we tell them if you play with it too long, you go blind. And we tell them all these things, right?
Yeah.
That are fucking not true. I've been jerking off my whole life, and well, hold on a second. Maybe that's not true anymore. But kids, all you'll need those for is reading, but porn. But you see it better. No, but honestly, we just started kind of talking about that. How, like, you know, it's almost as if you find out about all the craziness yourself when you're 16, 15. And, you know, for me, it was a little bit earlier because, you know, I got into punk so young or whatever. So I was exposed to all this, like, you know, the Crucifix records. They were telling me that the world was going to end in 1984, and Discharge, you know, and, you know, basically all the bands that were predicting the dystopian future that we're now living in. It's like those records is what I was listening to, and they were opening my mind, and I was started to understand what refugees were, or because Sothera from Crucifix was a Vietnamese refugee, and I could make the connection because my friend when I was a kid was Tuan, right? And he was from Vietnam, spoke no English, and I would help him speak English, and they invited me over for Tet and just like these things, or the Tongans or the Samoans or the Mexicans that were all in my neighborhood. Like, you know, you didn't understand like the plight or their history. And so, you know, you kind of got exposed to all this stuff. But it made me, I feel like a better rounded human being. And I feel like in today's world, you know, from what I see being a parent, and I feel like, you know, things are being sheltered too much. You know, if you show up to your soccer practice, you get a trophy, a participation trophy. You use all these words. It's like, you know, the words like trauma and all this stuff. I'm just like, my mom grew up in Nazi occupied Denmark in World War II and saw her family get killed in front of her fucking face when she was 5 years old. So don't tell me about your emotional trauma. It's hard for me to take that seriously, right? I understand that there's people that go through that kind of shit on a daily in this world. They have a right for that word, right? I don't necessarily know if I do, right? But my point is that I kind of started seeing like how we like cater and coddle, you know, these, you know, people. And it's just like, it doesn't do them any services at all, because like, if you're a child like me from the 70s, like the fact that I got hit by a car, got, you know, whatever these things were, like, you know, if I didn't go through that fear or that pain or that emotion, I never would have grown to be an adult that I feel like I'm a pretty good adult. I feel like I got a great moral compass. I feel like you know, I'm a good father. I feel like I'm a good partner. I feel like I'm a lot of these things, but it wasn't until I, you know, met those obstacles and those, no one ever learned anything from winning, first of all, at all. That teaches you, anyways, you got to lose, right? It's a series of losses. It's a series of failures, a series of challenges. And it's like, if we're protecting people from that shit, especially our kids, how the fuck are they going to be fucking out in society, in the real world, where there is no safe spaces, where it's not, you understand? Like, I started kind of thinking like that and just getting lost in it. Obviously you can tell, but I started saying, well, how can if I were going to leave something for these boys, and maybe it's not the best thing in the world, but it's the honest truth, how I view the world. I mean, and it's funny, the part where I say it's fucked up, but I'm right. That's actually something I say to my kids. You know what I mean? It's fucked up. I get it, but I'm right. You know, so it's my fucking house. But so that was kind of a tongue in cheek kind of thing, even though it's kind of arrogant. You know what I mean? But I kind of left that line in there because it's the truth. You know, and at least the truth as I view it. Maybe people don't have that same experience, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's a lot of the problems is, you know, I don't have the experience of certain cultures or certain things, you know. I've lived with a lot of different types of people and lived in a lot of different types of neighborhoods. And I feel like I got a better grasp on it, but I'm never going to have their experience, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm unique to my own, but it doesn't mean that I'm entitled to my own fucking facts, or that I can just jump to conclusions. I can hear certain words and go, well, that person's that way, that person's that way, that person's that way. That's why I feel like there's so much division in the world, because it's so fucking polarized. We make a fucking sickness polarized. It's like if you wear a mask, you're a fucking communist. If you don't wear a mask, you're a fascist who voted for Trump or whatever the fuck it is. It's like, how insane do you have to be to think that that is a truth? Yeah. Like I know I'm 50, maybe I'm an old guy, maybe I should fucking, pack my bags and carry on, but I'm not. I'm here, and you probably don't like it. Maybe some of you do. I don't really give a fuck. See, that's the other thing about being 50. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to fucking hold back anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I don't have time to waste. Let's just say I have 30 more years on this earth. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you the truth, how I see it. Yeah. And I feel like, I got opinions, but I don't have my own facts. Like I follow the facts, and honestly, at the end of the day, it's like, all I wanted to do is kind of go to my kids. Listen, the world's not a safe place at all, but it can be. And it's all about your reality and how you manifest. And that's kind of what it's saying. You can't look to something that's out in the outside. Basically the song says at the end of the day, you cannot look to the outside world to fix you. Yeah. If you're looking for security, if you're looking for love, if you're looking for open-mindedness, you're not going to find that out in the world. What you're going to find, where you're going to find it is right here. And I feel like the illusion that we're going to get something, buy something, do something, or champion some cause to get this experience, you're never going to find security or any of that in there. I've done it, right? Yeah. So now I'm seeing, it's an inside fucking job. And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, thanks for getting into that one. And you also cover Kiss on this EP, Coming Home by Kiss. And obviously, I think fans wouldn't immediately associate you, rooted in punk rock with Kiss. But, it seems like just about everyone has some sort of Kiss influence. A lot of the people you speak with, whether hard rock or either punk, hard rock, or metal, and there's some sort of Kiss influence. Can you talk about, covering that song and the influence that Kiss had on you?
I was born in '71, right? So, and I also had an older brother who was 4 years older than me. And when my mom and dad, so it kind of, I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory. So when my mom and dad split up when I was about 2, 3 years old, my mom took me and my brother to Denmark, and that's where we were going to live at the time, right? But then she thought, well, you know what, it's not right for me to take the boys away from the dad, even though the dad didn't really want anything to do with us. At least have an opportunity if those relationships could ever be mended or repaired. And also there wasn't a way that she could support us over there, right? So my mom was a very, very proud woman, saying she didn't want to take a handout from anybody, and she didn't. Not that I can remember. She always would find a hustle or something to do to put food on the table to keep us fed. And even though maybe we had Raisin Bran for Christmas dinner a few times, we still had food, my point, right? So my cousin Karen, who was older than my brother, was into like Slade, T-Rex, Chicory Tip, fucking Mabel, all the Danish glam stuff, and so she used to play that in her bedroom, and she used to dance with me to it, right? And so I think that's why when I heard Kiss when I was 5, because if you think about all those bands, I mean, that's Kiss, basically. They wanted to be those bands, and they'll freely probably admit that to you or me. But so I was at Kurt Heindel's birthday party. I was invited because I was, my brother was Kurt's friend. I was invited because they didn't want to leave me out, whatever. Maybe my mom wanted to do something. I don't know. But I remember being in his bedroom and listening to, I had heard Kiss by then, and I was totally fascinated by the beat, by everything. I loved it. I loved the theatrics of it. I loved the makeup. I loved the outfits. I loved everything about it. I thought it was like the best thing you could ever fucking, it was great. And I thought the songs were great too. And I remember even thinking back then how great these songs were. And I remember sitting in his bedroom because they were watching Creature Features, which was this Bay Area kind of thing where every, I think it was Friday or Saturday night, they would show a horror movie, and, whatever. And they didn't want me to see the horror movie. So they put me in the room filled with the Kiss posters, and right above my head, I remember it was Gene Simmons spitting blood. Like, if that's not fucking scary for a 5-year-old, right? So I remember crying about it or something, and my brother had to come in and put me back to sleep. But so anyways, for my 6th or 7th birthday, I think I got Dressed to Kill was the first record I ever got for my birthday. And I remember catching on to Getaway and Love Her All I Can and Room Service. You know, like those were the songs. You know, everybody says Rock and Roll Night. Yeah, great song, but not the one that I immediately went to. And then I think I got Hotter Than Hell. Yeah, I think I got Hotter Than Hell after that, and that's when Where Coming Home was. And I always thought that was always kind of one of my top. If you could put a top 5 favorite Kiss songs, that's got to. It switches between Love Her All I Can and Coming Home, and Coming Home. It had something about it like that really hit me in my heart. And I remember feeling that at a very early age, and how romantic it would be to have somebody like that in your life. And that was the thing that I always was kind of searching for, was that connection, right? So I was trying to find it in music. I was trying to find it in my punk rock family. I was trying to find it with my pagan roots. I was trying to find it in my own family, which was hard enough. And, you know, later, now that I'm an older guy, and for the last, you know, sort of 30 years, the pagan aspect of my life, that spirituality, that kind of core roots to my thing, has been the most important thing. But my point is that connection I was always sort of looking for with a partner, I guess. And you know, when I thought, you know, the song, so when it's really started to make sense is when I met my now, you know, future mother of my children. And that's when it really made sense, because I was able to, you know, and I mean, I'm going to get in there right now. Okay. I'm just going to let you know, because this is honestly the choices. Like, I don't feel like I ever could really love a person, and nor could I ever really feel loved. Like, there was always a kind of a boundary, like you can get this close and you don't get any further. And I don't know if it's necessarily the shit that I picked up as a preteen or a little kid or whatever it was, you know, seeing the violence or whatever it may be. You would always especially with women, there would always be like a thing here, you know, where I wouldn't let them all the way in my serious relationships. That's probably why I'm over 2 in the marriage game. My point is that, like, when I met, you know, Joanna, and she came in, my life very much changed. And I actually had the ability now to kind of open up in a way that I never had. Therefore, that song just struck that much more true to me. And I was like, so, you know, for me, doing that song has many significant things. You know, number one, it's like one of my favorite Kiss songs. You know, that's the surface level. But how Paul Stanley is fucking delivering that message, you believe. And that was so great about Kiss, is when they sang a song, you believed what they felt, you know, and that's why I gravitated to it. So I think for me, at the end of the day, having the experience I am having in my current relationship, and then having that love for that song over, you know, 5 decades, like, it made sense for me to do it. And then I thought, well, fuck, maybe I'll get Matt Freeman to play it with me, because Matt Freeman does not like Kiss. And I was like, dude, can you do this for me? And he's like, fuck, all right, I'll do it for you, because I love you, you know. And, you know, there's no secret, like, the intimate relationships that I share, you know, with Matt, Tim, and Brandon, like, we're close, we're like family. And some people hear the word intimacy and they think sex, and it's not. It's about this closeness that you learn, if you're lucky, you know, to let somebody really truly see you and be seen in that sense, you know. And it's a very vulnerable place, but it's a real place, and it's an authentic place, you know. So it's like, when you share that with 3 other guys, and 3 other guys in this world know who the fuck you are, not just when you have your cup of coffee or you take your morning piss, like, intimately, like, they know how you tick, like. And so I had to have them there with me, you know, and thank God I did.